It's tea time with Mary.
Hello, good morning. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tea Time with Mary. I am your host, Miss Mary Lou, and it's so wonderful to see you back here on the Miss Mary Lou channel. Today, my friends, we are going to be doing another Q&A, and I asked out on my social media for some questions. I know we did basic tea questions last time, so these ones are going to be a little bit more adventurous, which I'm very excited. And while we're doing the Q&A, I'm going to be drinking some wonderful special blend. This is an Earl Grey blend tea, and coloring in my cat butt coloring book. Which is absolutely magical. And there are cat butts all in it, and it's just very funny, very silly. I got my colored pencils, and let's just have a lovely time. But before I go to reveal the picture we will be coloring today, if you are not subscribed to the Miss Mary Lou channel already, you are seriously missing out. Please hit the red subscribe button right down below and the little notification bell so you know when I upload. All right, let me drink some of this. This is so yummy and delicious. Also, can we talk about the roses? It's so delightful. And as the tea gets lower in the cup, you will see a surprise at the bottom. So lots of exciting things happening today. All right, let's go ahead and reveal our picture for the day. So this little cat butt says, I'm ignoring you now. If you have a cat, you understand that they love showing you their backsides. So I'm going to pick a couple of basic colors. I really enjoy just sticking to a few basic things. It works for my brain. And I think for the actual text, I'm going to be coloring in with different patterns with my new fountain pen. So that's very exciting. I think I'm going to start with the greenery bits around. So let's get a couple greens in here. Crayola, not sponsored. How different are these two greens? Yellow green, jade green. I feel like that's orange. I feel like I want one dark green and one light green. So let's do those two for our greenery bits about. And all our little dots right here, let's do some pink. Excellent. So for our first question, it says, how do you feel about sweetening your tea with sugar substitutes? There are so many more now with diet trends introducing alternatives. So how do I feel about sweetening tea with sugar alternatives? For those of you that have been around the tea party for a little while, you know that I am absolutely obsessed with sweetening my tea with maple syrup. I love it so much. It adds such a depth of flavor, although I don't think I would call that a sugar substitute per se, because it is still sugar. Same thing with like agave or something like that, because it is still a sugar base. It just comes from a different plant. Ooh, that green is it's not quite as light as I thought it was gonna be, but we're gonna make it work. That'll be great. So I mean, as far as a sugar alternative to white sugar, yes, I absolutely adore maple syrup. Now, if sugar-free is something you're after, I would say it's all honestly just personal preference. I have been working for a very long time not to really buy into diet culture and alternatives and stuff like that. I like to take the approach, for me personally, having something that is whole from a plant, less processed if possible. as opposed to like a sweetener, which is super, super heavily processed. But, some people, if they're diabetic or if they just really enjoy those, do you, boo? It all depends on what your comfort level is. I did used to sweeten my tea all the time, like back in high school with, I think Splenda was really, really new. And it was kind of fun because I would put it in the hot tea and it would just like poof, the Splenda poof, we used to call it. Because I would make tea during lunch in the band room for lunch. Because, I was very cool. I still am, I gotta say, I'm still one cool cat. So, what I've also consciously worked on developing, which might sound kind of strange, but yes, that's a real thing. I've been working on developing my palate and my sense of taste, etc. How I can taste different kinds of flavors and such. And one way that I've been doing that relates to sweeteners is I drink tea unsweetened the vast majority of the time. There's nothing wrong with putting sugar and some milk in a tea, absolutely. But I just find that I can taste more of the subtleties in what's going on, and then if I choose to sweeten it for that kind of an experience, I do that. So if that sounds something that's interesting to you, I highly recommend it. It's fun. I know some people hear, oh my gosh, no sugar. That's no fun at all. But that's how I drink tea probably 95% of the time. And I'm so much more aware of flavor so that, when it's there, and this doesn't just go for tea. I've stopped like consciously sweetening a lot of things, and now I just find like I can taste things so prominently. It's kind of bananas. So I invite you, if that sounds like a fascinating process, kind of training your tongue, so to speak, it's really cool. This tea has no sugar or anything in it at all. And I get it. I know, especially in the UK, not sweetening your tea at all and just drinking it straight up black. Not a popular opinion. Not a popular opinion at all. But that's just how I'm doing things. What would you say is your favorite tea combination? Like if I had to combine two tea flavors in one cup. Ooh, this is a good question. Oh, dang. Like, what are some of my. I mean, I kind of have done that already because two of my favorite flavors are fresh bergamot and rose petals. And in my custom blend, which the whole collection is available in full size in compostable packaging. If you missed the announcement last week, I'll go ahead and put a link to it in the description box down below. But yeah, I made my perfect tea, bergamot and rose petals. If I wanted to make some other kind of tea, I think I would probably do mint and vanilla. I think that's just such a magical combination. And I used to combine it myself. I did an episode forever ago called like Tea Alchemy with my friend Amanda. If I can find that, I will also link that one down below. But we actually made this combination and it's magical. At home, I used to take like vanilla extract, like the teeniest, tiniest bit, and combine it with fresh peppermint leaves. Oh, It's really magical. I'm telling you. Talk about another exciting decaffeinated option. I think that would be absolutely lovely. And I think they have some teas out there that have that. So if you know about a really good mint and vanilla tea, please let me know in the comments below because I would love to have that in my life as an option. I feel like I had one from a brand once, but I can't remember quite honestly. So if you have any, please tell me. And this kind of leads into the next question, which is how do you pair tea and foods or tea and desserts or meals, etc.? This is a really fascinating topic, and if you would like to hear me go into more depth, please let me know. I'd love to do an episode about it for tea pairings. So, my general approach is you can either complement the flavor or you can contrast it. And I have to admit, I did not get this approach from the tea world. I actually haven't really done a lot of research about how other people do it in tea, but I used to have to work at a job where I could come up with wine pairing recommendations. And I found a lot of the same sort of principles apply to tea as well. I know, like, obviously, tea is not wine, but as far as flavor combinations and stuff, I had training in wine pairings. And yeah. So, for example, dessert teas are a little bit more straightforward. Like, I would say typically a sweeter tea would tend to go with a dessert. And there are some teas that would be classified as dessert teas. Like, I've had some really spectacular coconut teas that are super sweet on their own. But say you are going to have something for dessert like chocolate. Say you're having chocolate cake for dessert and you want to try to pair it with a tea. I would suggest choosing something that both complements and contrasts that flavor. So I would probably recommend some kind of light, sweet, or actually, no, you know what would be really good is a robust tea that matches the darkness of the chocolate base. So, like a black tea base, but something that has really bright fruit flavors in it that will contrast it. So, the tea that comes to mind with chocolate cake, actually, that I think would be freaking amazing is Goodberry tea from Geeky Teas. I've talked about it on the channel before. It's essentially fruits of the forest combined with a black tea base. So it's very like strawberry, blackberry prominent. Ooh, I have another tea from I'm just getting excited about chocolate cake and tea. Okay. You know, it's really a magical thing. So another really, really good one from Tea Spectral actually is that would go well with chocolate cake or something that has a little bit more spice in it is it's this tea called Nocturnal Notes, which is a chai balanced with black currant. I gotta tell you, it's freaking magical. No, I don't make any money or anything selling the Goodberry or Nocturnal Notes. They're just, oh, that would be so spectacular. But you can do this for savory things as well. It doesn't just have to be sweet. Okay, say you're having some kind of stir fry for dinner. So something that's really salty, lots of umami. I think it would be a really lovely idea to balance the saltiness out with something that is still umami, but something that will contrast the salt. So I would recommend pairing some kind of really earthy oolong with a stir fry to balance out the saltiness and stuff like that. And you know, you can think about flavors and whatnot in that combination as well. It's just a whole world. I could talk about tea pairings forever. So yeah, if you want me to talk more about this, please just let me know and I will do it for you. All right, we are done with our greenery. So let's get into coloring in the words and get to our next question. What is the best way to store tea? Um, there is some variation in the type of tea. Of course, certain teas, like matchas in particular, they like to be stored differently. But most teas, generally speaking, you're going to want to keep them in a cool, dry place. Humidity is not fun. I really like storing teas. I'm so into what I'm talking. I'm like not even coloring. Okay. So yeah, storing your teas in a cool, dry place and preferably single or double sealed. I really like doing double sealed because I think it's great. That's when like you take the top off of a container and there's like a secondary barrier underneath it. Those are my favorite to store teas in. Fortunately, here in Southern California, we don't really have to deal with humidity, but I definitely keep the teas away from windows. Just away from windows, you know, making them happy. If you are in a place that has a lot of humidity, I recommend actually, I just watched a video on a friend's channel, Tea for Me Please, if you don't know her, and she just released a video about how she stores her teas in a humid free environment. So if you are concerned about that, I recommend going ahead and taking a look at that video. I will link it down below. And I do want to mention matcha because it's so different. So matcha, for those of you that don't know, is a green tea powder. They're the actual leaves that are ground very, very fine that you can then, you know, mix with a liquid and create a beverage. Matchas like to be refrigerated. Just period. Double seals on matcha is definitely important. And, you know, why is this so important? Well, I believe the reason is because it is ground into a powder. There's so much more surface area of the actual tea leaf exposed. So, because there's so much more air that can get to the leaves, you really have to preserve it more. So if you have some matcha in your house, I super recommend getting it in a double seal container and putting it in the refrigerator because that will help a lot. Ooh, all this talk about tea. So yeah, cool dry place and in a double sealed container if you can. Ooh, I wanted to tell you about the ink in this pen, actually. I have it over here. I can show you. So I very recently started getting into fountain pens, and they're lovely because I can write for a long period of time without it hurting my hand because you don't have to press to make a pen write, unlike with a ballpoint pen or a gel pen. And the ink I'm using is oh so appropriate because it's called Earl Grey, which is lovely. This is very thin paper, so you can't really see the gloriousness that is this ink color and this pen. But I am using an ink called Earl Grey, which I think is just delightful. Did I order it partially because of the name? Oh, you betcha. But also, I was looking for a gray color with some nice shading in the medium range. So this one fit the bill for sure. When doing stuff like this, you can't be too perfect. You just kind of gotta go for it. Also, if you love this coloring book, I will make sure to link it down below because there's just so much art in it that makes me giggle. It's absolutely wonderful. And we have another question. How do you go about making tea like the ones in your collection? And how did you come up with those flavors? So I'll start with the how do you go about making tea? I have this really awesome video that goes over things in depth. I actually think it's my most popular video right now, which is bananas. Um, Called Loose Leaf Tea Secrets, which I will also link. There's just going to be a bunch of videos linked, I suppose. My favorite way to brew them, it's really easy and you don't need any special equipment. It's just loosey goosey, where I take a liquid measuring container that's heat proof, like a Pyrex, for example, and I just put 1 teaspoon of tea in the container for every 8 ounces of liquid. And then I just pour the hot water right into the liquid measuring cup, all loose. And then I take just like a regular wire mesh strainer and strain it out into the teacup. That's actually how I brewed this today. You can use things like infusers, but you get the most out of the flavors if you let them brew all loose and free and fun. And then how did I come up with the different teas in my collection? So I started with a theme, and everything else just kind of came from there. So, my theme for the collection is the Tea Time Fam collection, which is not only the name of my super awesome community on the internet, it is also inspired by my actual little family. So, there's a tea for me, there's a tea for my fiance, and there is a tea for my hobbitses, my little kitties. And from there, coming up with the combinations was a lot easier because I had something to go off of. I had an inspirational basis. For example, the tea for me, oh yeah, that worked out kind of weird, didn't it? You know, didn't think things through. That's okay. We'll add a little extra stripe right there. Um, So the tea for me, I knew what my favorite flavor combination was, which was Earl Grey and rose petals. So that was easy. And then for Jacob, it was like, well, what are Jacob's favorite flavors? And he weighed in on he wanted it to be an oolong, so we had that as a great starting point. And then my cats are named after Merry and Pippin from Lord of the Rings. So that started as a basis for inspiration for the apricot and sage flavors in it. Everything just kind of fell into place. But if I didn't have that launching pad of, oh, I want to make one tea for everyone in my little family, then, it probably would have been harder to just like think of, oh my gosh, what are 3 teas? For sure. All right, that wraps up our fun letters with our Earl Grey ink. So exciting. I really love this. I've been waiting for a really beautiful, like library type green color. So I have that ink coming. Oh boy, I have fallen down the rabbit hole of fountain pens. Who is there? How many of you use fountain pens? They're so easy to use, like for everyday whatever. They have fancy ones where like you can press on them and stuff, but this is just like basic everyday stuff, and I'm in love. Okay, we need to pick a color for our cat. Maybe I'm thinking an orange cat will kind of offset the gray letters and the green and everything nicely. We have a couple of oranges here. What do we got? We have orange, And we have yellow orange. I feel like I don't want it to be like super darks. I think I'm actually going to go with the yellow orange for this. So, our last question for the day is, how did you meet your tea collaborator? How did your tea collection even happen? So, this is actually quite an interesting story. Um, so, my tea collaborator, Tea Spectral, she's a dear friend of mine, but it wasn't always that way. We didn't know the other existed, and we are both in Los Angeles. A dear friend of mine, Beverly Butterfly, who's another YouTuber, who I will also link her channel down below in the description. Beverly had been following Tea Spectral online, and Tea Spectral had a tea giveaway, as they often do, because they're wonderful. And Beverly, who lives in the UK, won one of the Tea Spectral giveaways. Fell madly in love with the tea, saw that they were local to Los Angeles, and told Tea Spectral to check out my Positivity podcast and YouTube channel. Because she was like, wait a minute, I'm all the way in the UK. I know both of you. Why don't you guys like get to know each other? So T Spectral started following my content and eventually reached out and asked if I could be a speaker for a festival that they had growing up. That was a lot like the podcast format. So I went to their film festival, and Jacob and I both did a panel, a presentation for them. We met them. I tried their teas, and I was like, "What the heck? What? Wait. So you not only run a film festival, you run a tea company? Who are you? How can magical humans like this exist in the universe?" So needless to say, we became really fast friends, met for tea all the time, had little tea parties and everything. And after, a while into our friendship, the idea came up to launch a collection together. She had never collaborated before, not even with an influencer. I was the first person that she did any kind of collaboration effort with. And it was the first collaboration I had ever done with a company, in 4 years of launching the channel. So it was definitely kind of scary and exciting for both of us because neither of us had ever done it before. But we were both so excited, which is why the tea collection launch, we wanted to make sure it was beautiful. We wanted to make sure that the tea itself was stunning, like all her teas are. I cannot tell you who her supplier is due to contract and where she gets stuff. It's magic, okay? It's just, that's all you need to know is this tea. This tea is freaking magic. But we did want to launch the tea in smaller sizes in a trio to see, how it went. Do people like it, etc., etc. And y'all loved it so freaking much. We were able to bring them back for you in full size in compostable packaging. I'm still freaking out about it. Yeah, so two people in Los Angeles, neither had any idea that the other existed. Thanks to a mutual friend in the UK, we got connected, and yeah, the rest is history. It's kind of bananas that it took someone from across the pond to introduce people that practically live in each other's backyards. So I am so thankful for you, Beverly. And yeah, we're still dear friends. Obviously, like social distancing and such, but she's one of the only people, you know, that I'll regularly talk to on the phone during all of this. And she's so giving and so loving and so kind and is truly the spirit of a small business, creative, passionate person. So I have no idea how much you missed. But basically, I really love working with Tea Spectral, not just because she's a friend of mine, but because, you know, she's the true embodiment of what it means to be a small creative business. And I just believe in it so much. And it's a privilege to be able to work with them. And they're so kind and just such wonderful humans, you know? All right, we just have one finishing touch on our little I'm ignoring you now thing here. And that is this cute little butt. So, yeah, there we go. Thank you so very much for joining me today for this wonderful Q&A chit chat. Lovely, super fun coloring book time. I have lots of really fun links for you down in the description box below. So I hope that you enjoyed this casual chit chat, nurturing form of content. I really, really enjoy doing these. Thank you everyone who sent in your questions. I hope that they were answered. And if not, don't worry, we are going to be doing more of these types of videos. I hope that you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you next tea party.
It's tea time with Mary.
Thanks for watching Tea Time with Mary. I hope to see you real soon. If you want to like, subscribe, and comment, I think that would be cool. Check out my facebook.com/Tea Time with Mary for all the content that's new, or my Instagram, Twitch, and Twitter. I'm at Miss Mary Lou. So thanks again for joining us. And thanks for being a friend. We'll see you next tea party. The fun never ends on a tea time with Mary. That's me. Bye, everyone. The Grim.